Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over a bunch of team strategy, key opening, and all that good stuff for Aquaria. So this is the first Friday of the month, and of course, as per usual, we do have the new Mythic, and of course, with it now being 2023, this is also the first new Mythic of the year. So, as far as getting this thing, it is in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest for this week only, then it'll be in the drop table with everything else. For the most part, if you want to pick this thing up, definitely make sure to do so this week. Otherwise, the next best bet will be to end up getting it through event keys on the next Nexus event, or waiting until you can get it in Soulforge for 4,000 diamonds when it eventually cycles in on the next Mythic cycle. As far as this Mythic is concerned, it is a bit on the underwhelming side, but still usable. The main thing making this usable is one specific troop existing, but as far as what it does itself, it is an Elemental Dragon, which is an okay typing. Dragons generally have AoE damage, and one thing that's nice about this is it is not that. It will ultimately likely be hitting everything on the opposing team, however, that's not exactly what it does. It deals a bunch of splash damage to 3 random enemies boosted by Submerge at a 3 times boost ratio per every single Submerge that you have on your team. Keep in mind, as of currently, Submerge cannot boost ratio off yourself, as the check happens afterwards, not before. So you will lose your Submerge before it checks how many Submerges you have. I mean, you can only ever get the boost ratio off your other 3 allies, and you'll never be able to get a four full boost ratio. It is currently impossible in the current state of the game. That might be changed into the future, but that basically means the highest amount of damage you could potentially get is 9. As it will only be able to boost ratio off of 3 allies, never 4, since it cannot boost ratio off itself. A little bit lower of a mana cost at 22, which is nice. Wish it was all the way at 20, so it'd be a little bit more usable. It's great to get to create a blue gem at the start of every single turn. A lot of things from Nexus has this ability, and it is no different. It does gain Submerge when it takes damage. However, it itself having Submerge, as I just mentioned, is not really that beneficial necessarily, because it doesn't get to boost ratio, at least currently, from that Submerge. And aside from that, they keep giving this very useless trait to a lot of Mythics, and this one has it as well, where it just gains a bunch of his stats to a corresponding color if it takes that color. This would be useful if it was like all stats, or maybe even just magic. However, most of these that just do like life, armor, even attack, they're generally almost never going to be useful, as the amount of stats that you end up getting from them is just too minuscule to really mean stuff. Even if this thing had like a life boost ratio, it still would be such a small amount that it would barely do anything. So what is the main thing that actually makes this thing somewhat usable? It is actually Aquaticus existing. Aquaticus gets to 4 times submerge your entire team while having a very similar mechanic. 3 hits, but it's light splash instead of full splash. Light splash is 25%. The full splash, when it just says splash damage, is 50%, like this Mythic, or like when I say this Mystic, I mean Aquaria, and other things like it. If it just says splash damage, it means 50%, and if it says heavy splash, it is 75%. So in this case, it's 50% to adjacents, and in the case of Aquaticus, it is 25% to adjacents. So they have a very similar ability that can kind of correspond with each other, and that's one of the main things kind of making this thing somewhat usable, though definitely towards the middle-ish area. Nothing too insane, but still, you can kind of use it if you want to. Anyways, let's start opening keys for, we're actually going to start on Glory, just because, hey, might as well get a bunch of extra resources and everything. See if we can get a little bit lucky in there. Not sure how many keys we're going to have to go through. We'll go head over to Gem Keys if it seems like we're getting a little bit too unlucky here. And start burning through that entire stack. And see about how many it takes us. I might go to Gem Keys a little bit early. I mostly wanted this for all the other stuff. I forgot. The drop table here. Not the greatest, as is Glory Keys. You do have to open quite a bit more to get to the same point. So let's go and actually head over to Gem Keys then. See if we can get a little bit lucky over here, then start going for some 50s. And if we don't get too lucky, we'll have to see. I almost feel like restarting the game again, because now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, wait. I always think about that, like around reset time. It's like, did I remember to restart the game? I did. Though I always second guess it whenever we go like a large number of keys. Like, is it actually in the drop table? Because I didn't check global chat. One thing you normally want to do is go check. Well, that answers that. Like, almost everyone in my guild apparently got it already. So never mind. I don't even need to check global chat. Half my guild already has it. So it is indeed in drop table. Would you like to show up in our drop table? Because that would be nice. There it is. Aquaria. Okay, let's go upgrade this thing. And got to use that new upgrading menu. I still have not gotten used to this upgrading menu yet, the new one. I know you can kind of just click like the button or whatever it was over. Oh, I never upgraded this? Oh yeah, duh, because we don't have enough copies to max it. That was the spider from the current Kingdom Pass thing. Gosh, we have a lot of event things going on this week. Not only that, we also have Bounty Hunter going on. We'll be streaming that later tonight. Anyways, we'll go for this. Go get his level. I want to do it like slightly before. Actually, you know what I should do whenever we get a new troop like this? I should do the level first. Because I know I'm going to go to that orb menu anyways. So we'll do it like this. Actually could have done to the last 2 levels, but we'll do it to the last one. Technically, we could just use a big orb on it immediately and kind of be good to go. Also, before I forget while it's still over here, let me go slot this into every single one of the teams. Since obviously Zillow Pachley is just the placeholder, as you would never actually use that in a team. Let's see. Though it could be usable. It is actually set up, that other troop, in a way where if the perfect synergy troop would ever exist, it would be like somewhat usable. Anyways, we'll take that. We'll take that. We know we're all the way upgraded once we start seeing those old bronze level things, which we definitely do not want to use here. It would gain it would gain a decent amount of benefit from being magic, though of course there are a lot of other mythics that you probably want to upgrade before you would ever consider this thing. Though it is a magic-based one, so it is gaining 6 additional damage potentially, so it would gain a sizable amount of damage that way. However, as you're about to see, it is definitely towards the average side and probably not worth using that often. Anyways, let's go and just test it out and explore initially. So let's start all the way from the top and go with a 4x elemental team is the very first one we go for here. And this one's using Osheo Tome. Osheo's Tome does 2 things. It boosts based on how many blues you have. It explodes a bunch of blues, or it explodes a bunch of gems. Boosted by blue allies and elemental allies. Well, our entire team is blue and our entire team is elemental. This ends up happening a lot with Osheo's Tome, as there is a lot of overlap between those two. And you just get to basically clear out the entire board with one cast, as is not based on a certain type. It literally does absolutely every single one that is in play. In this particular team, I did end up putting the Aquaticus in front. The main reason for this is it does get to do a bunch of explodes, so I'm hoping that that explode amount will end up giving us the mana we need. Very unfortunately, just ever so slightly short. As you can see, where it is doing that 1 blue per turn, so we are getting more of that very useful color that we end up needing. We did end up getting the extra turn from the Cascade there, just make sure we take out all of our extra turns, and then we can just keep hitting it. Unfortunately, this Mythic does suffer from one thing that a lot of bad Mythics have, and that is the incapability of landing extra turn. There is no way to get this thing to have any extra turn. And you saw there, that was also the max boost ratio that we could potentially end up getting there. So overall, it's kind of average. Aquaticus can definitely help it out a little bit. But even compared to Aquaticus, I almost feel like Aquaticus is better. A troop I would generally consider to not be particularly good. But you know, you have that follow-up, you have that extra turn chance. While it is light splash damage, your base value actually looks like it's slightly higher. So even though it's doing a little bit less damage to adjacents, the actual targets that it's hitting are taking slightly more damage. So this is doing slightly more overall, especially with boost ratio. Even without boost ratio, it's doing slightly more, but it has no follow-up. Whereas this gets follow-up of exploding half the blues on the board, so you have that little bit of benefit. And of course, there's that 4x submerge, which we're utilizing to try to get as much extra damage on it as we can. And there we go. That's the 4x elemental team. Probably among one of the stronger ones, if you're going to bother building into it. Next we have basically just trying to use Angry Mob as our main mana accumulation, but still kind of using the same base as before. We're using an Aquaticus into the Aquaria, specifically in that order. You could use it in inverse order, but we're mostly making sure we do that so we always have at least a 1 mana accumulator kind of going. In this team with 3, we could technically go the other way around if we really wanted to. Oh no, I hate when it does that. We had a thing at the start of battle which got in the way. Actually, was that its purple gem? I think it was. I am pretty sure that was his purple gem there. Well, it's unfortunate it happens though. Anyways, where do you want to take this little bit of mana? That is very lucky that he didn't end up taking that web gem. Most of our team does get disabled pretty heavily from a web. Don't you guarantee create a web gem? You do. If that's the case, I pretty much just want to go for mana then. So we'll end up taking brown. We'll go clear out the entire board here, as well as all of its little web gems, and we should be good to go. We want to cast Aquaticus first, as we might have a chance of actually getting an extra turn. And we do not, but we do get a little bit of mana there. And I always go for our AoE and just kind of rinse and repeat. We can disable any big threat, which is one of the reasons why we kind of went with this. So if we don't want this thing to constantly keep creating those gems, we can do that so it hopefully doesn't end up webbing us. Now it won't be able to, because it won't be able to create any more of those gems. We go for a little bit more Aquaticus. We could do it the other way around. We haven't actually taken an extra turn to get our submerge. It'd be kind of nice, so I'll actually try for this. See if we can get lucky on an extra turn, because we could really use that little bit of extra boost ratio, as it's one of its main gimmicks, is to try to boost ratio off of that. You know what? We're even going to try the extra turn to see if we can get it perfect. And now we get our max amount of boost ratio. We go for our poke, and that should end up killing. Perfect. And as for, once again, max boost ratio, which is quite a bit more damage. It is doing 27 more damage in theory, because it's gaining 9 more damage. Like, whenever you have that setup, you're submerging everything on your team. Only 3 of them will count. So you're getting boost ratio of 9, or, 3 of them for 9 total. It hits 3 times, so it's doing 27. However, it's also doing the 50% adjacent. So if you're perfectly 50% adjacent, you're basically doing, in theory, 54 additional damage from having your entire team submerge. Is it worth going all the way down the submerge route to end up doing that? Probably not, but it's like one of the only ways you can kind of use it. So much so, we're actually doing it with this team, a little bit of a cheaper team. This uses just ultra rares and below, everything except the Mythic itself. The Coral Golem, just an easy to get ultra rare. The weapon being from 250 wins on the Drifting Sands hero class, which is the Dervish, and just like an AoE damage pressure kind of weapon, a little bit of knockback here and there. We're also using this as Tidecaller. Tidecaller at level 40, I believe it is, gains Submerge to a random ally, and we're using this as our Submerge. It's not the same as submerging your entire team with one single extra turn. However, it will submerge one random ally per extra turn, though this can overlap, so you can take like 5 extra turns and only get like 2 ally submerge, as it can hit the same ally again. And it also gives us gift submerge when it takes damage. Alternatively, we have Golem here. This can submerge your entire team if you take 4 green. This can resubmerge per cast, but every individual cast, if you hit 4, will submerge your entire team. So for example, if you end up taking 3 green gems with this, it could overwrite 2 things that already have submerge on your team, meaning you still you'll basically go from having 2 submerges to 3 total. This can even happen if you just do 2 and it hits onto 2 you already have. You basically gain no additional submerges. However, if you hit 4 or more green with this, it'll guarantee submerge your entire team. It will overlap on things that already have submerge, but per cast, it does individually select your allies. So as long as you hit 4 gems with the green explode, with the 3x3, you will end up submerging your entire team, kind of like what we were doing per extra turn with the Mythic, but this is a much lower rarity, easy troop to get, and also some stone skin, which you can end up utilizing. Aside from that, we have the ultra rare of Angry Mob, just for a bunch of mana accumulation, also has backup resummon in case our Coral Golem dies, and of course, as this is a video going over Aquaria, we are indeed using the Aquaria Mythic that just came out today. And we're doing it in a banner that mostly gets Angry Mob up a little bit quicker. We'll also being able to get our dagger up and kind of just using that as our main mana source. Using the Coral Golem to tank and boost up our team. And just kind of going from there. So let's see what we can do here. Gosh, this thing is popping up every single time. When I actually want to find these things, they are nowhere to be found. When we're trying to do actual battles, they are in literally every fight. Okay, so we do want Angry Mob mana. Probably prioritizing almost every other type of mana. We might want to take away that web. This team is still pretty web disabled. Unfortunately, we don't gain much of a benefit from taking purple here. Ideally, what we actually want to take here is another red and get Angry Mob rolling. We could just hope he doesn't go for it. He probably is, but we'll see what he does here. Maybe the AI won't go for it. It doesn't. Interesting. So I kind of want to go get rid of everything. Let's see, what order do I want to do this in? I just want to hope he doesn't web us. Let's go with that strategy. Let's just hope he randomly doesn't web us. And he actually didn't, surprisingly. So we go for a little bit of AoE pressure. Of course, as I mentioned before, as long as we explode 4 greens, we will guarantee submerge our entire team. I'm actually going to wait a turn because I do want to make sure we actually have the cast ready to go before I do that. Hopefully we'll have one here. Perfect. So right over here and right over here. I'll actually do this one just so we don't have to deal with the web gem, though he doesn't really have a way of taking it. Though he could randomly get a purple gem in that exact spot out of a 1 in... How many are there on the board right now? It's a 1 in like 62 because I think he could overwrite other purples, so... yeah, that's a very, or secondly, 1 in 64, what am I saying? Because only, actually 1 in 63, because the only thing it can't, overwrite, I believe, is the other spider gem. But anyways, very low chance that will happen, but we'll still disable it, because there's 4 green there. Main reason we want to do that is it will submerge a random ally for each gem destroyed, and as I mentioned before, that will guarantee submerge our entire team, which basically means we will guarantee get a submerge onto our Angry Mob. Whereas if we did it on 3, there is a chance it will resubmerge all 3 of these and not actually submerge our Angry Mob. But if we do 4 more, it'll guarantee submerge our Angry Mob. Oh wait, but we accidentally took a skull there, so we unsubmerged ourselves, so we're back to square one. Wonderful. Well, that's unfortunate. But he does just randomly get a skull there, nothing much we could do about that. I guess we're just going to go for the smaller boost ratio. Not too big a deal, it's like 3 damage, but you know, all the extra boosts that he gets can end up adding up. I'll just go for his cast, get another AoE down, and go from there. Should just be able to do it with 1 more cast of the Mythic, ideally with a Submerge, if we can end up getting that without doing a Skull Poke on accident there, if we can help it. I'm not seeing an area with 4, however, if we can get lucky with 3, we technically do not need the Mythic itself to be submerged. So we can go for a 3 over here. You can also, of course, use this Explode for extra turns or anything else, other setup. Like right here, if we really want to try for an extra turn, we could try for Brown off a Sky. There's a pretty high chance, given that there is a Brown Storm right now, so we could try for that. Didn't end up getting it, but hey, it was worth a shot. All right, we'll go try clearing out the board, see if we can get our Submerge again. Otherwise, we're just going for double boost ratio and killing it off of that, and that should be enough to win, unless we get a little unlucky there. And then we'll kill it out with the Angry Mob, getting all of our mana back up. And once more, I guess we'll go do the Elemental team. Let's go do it in PvP and see what this thing can end up doing. So let's go bring this over to PvP and see what the meta is these days. Oh, Flask Mistress. Oh, that's a lot of extra. That's a lot of mana loop. I would like to not have that loopy of a team. We could replace it for a different infinite loop. I would like a non-infinite loop team. I would like something slightly strong. Well, actually, that could be kind of strong. It has a lot of skull spam. Web spinner with just triple wyvern. I have done that occasionally. I'm not a fan of the team, but it is really funny. Okay, here's the Agua Queen Titania with Empower. That's fine. Anyways, let's go do Aquaticus. We actually get to show the Submerge slightly. Of course, Submerge is an effect that supposedly does something. It basically... Oh, Pet Gnome. But basically what Submerge does is... it in theory does something. Basically, Submerge will go and make it so you cannot be hit by AoE abilities. There are very few things that actually count as AoE abilities. For example, our splash damage when hitting like this does not count as it. His double poke that he's doing right here, even when there's only 2 remaining troops, does not count as it. In this case, the only thing on the opposing team that actually does is the thing that hits all enemies here. Split damage also ends up counting as it, and probably some other mechanic I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but very few things actually end up proccing it. Submerge is among one of the weaker status effects in the entire game, mostly because it has very few use cases, but it can still kind of get into play, especially if you know the team that you're up against is going to get hard countered by Submerge. Then you can end up bringing these out on occasion. It's probably one of the main purposes why you would even want to have this troop, is out of the rare circumstance where you actually do want to run a 4-time Submerge build, as it is something that can be slotted into a 4-time Submerge build and function decently well. And that's basically the only time you'd ever want to use it. So do we have an extra turn here? We do not. I can still go for just a standard amount. Oddly enough, we almost have Mirage Queen alignment. I almost want to go for it. I kind of want to just clear the board again, to be honest. And see if we can get a better one. See if we can get that extra turn right there. Which we keep it on missing, which is kind of unfortunate, because then we get less boost ratio. But let's go for the damage, kill him out, get our Pet Gnome, which is nice because I don't think the guild has one active right now. So we get to see the pets. Say anything good here? Probably not. Come on, I need that one Infernus pet. No, I already have that. It's a billion copies. I wish it would just give you, whoever triggers the pet for your guild, it should guarantee give you one that you don't already have. I really wish they would change that, as it would make it so much more convenient, especially with the 1.5 billion pets that are out there these days. Like, at least make it one that the person who activates it doesn't already have maxed, and we'd be good to go. But anyways, guys, that's a rundown on Aquaticus. Overall, pretty mid-tier mythic. Not really one you're going to be using that often. The only circumstance you're really going to be bringing it out is if you kind of want to go all the way down a Submerge build, which is very situational. It kind of needs Aquaticus to end up working correctly, so you kind of need that whole Aquaria Aquaticus combo to get us a lot of AQ. Kind of forgot they both kind of sound the same initially. Actually, they have almost the exact same, they both have the Aqua start. But how did I just notice that now? Yeah, they both start with Aqua. I guess that makes sense. They're both pretty water-based, but unless you're going for like the double combo, I don't really feel like there's going to be much of a situation where you bring it out. But hey, at least it brings Nexus to 14 stars. We got that. I believe, yeah, Nexus only has, what, like 2 mythics now? And this is now the 2nd mythic for the location, with the other one being that one really weird one. Wait, where'd it go? How does the alphabet work again? There we go. If we do base rarity real quick, what is the other one? Because this is somewhat relevant if you're going to go for it for event keys later. Oh, yeah, Calica. I don't know, Calica was kind of average as well. This kingdom has a lot of average stuff. Like, you would expect an elemental kingdom, something based on, like, one of the strongest typings in the entire game to be good. But honestly, other than elemental hero class, which is like S+++ tier, nothing in this kingdom does that much, which is actually surprising based on it's an entire kingdom of like the strongest typing in the game. Yet almost everything here is just like average or slightly below average, or just kind of around that area. And unfortunately, so is this mythic. But it'll be in the drop table for the next week if you do want to go and pick it up. All the teams that we end up going over during this video are in the comment section below if you want to go and copy paste any of them. Feel free to also leave any teams of your own if you want to go mention them in the comment section. Best of luck if you're going to be trying for the Mythic. And of course, we also have Bounty Hunter going on this week, though of course that's the same thing as always. Just use the same standard 3 troop, use the Bounty Captain in the back, and you're pretty much good to go. And I'll be doing that tonight as we always do. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Best of luck on the Mythic, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.